cell. Here come this is the boys, the varsity. Good evening, sports fans. Welcome to an exciting edition of sports here. Tonight, SportsBeat TV. It's a production of Oregon SportsBeat. And tonight we are at Old Town Brewery, and we're on Martin Luther King near Alberta, I believe. And we got a treat for you tonight. We have the Central Catholic boys baseball team and their head coach, Brian Grant, next to me here. He's brought 3 of their players with him. We're going to talk to Coach Grant for a while, find out a little bit about him, a little bit about Central Catholic baseball, where you stand with the upcoming season for the Mount Hood Conference, and then we'll talk to your players, and then we'll do something that I really like, and that's we'll talk baseball. Yeah. You know, Coach, just saying the word baseball, I mean, it's been 6 months since that word has even flashed across the TV screen anywhere. I'm so hungry for baseball, I'm watching those preseason games.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to get going. But spring training baseball's on TV now, and I think I speak for everybody when that kind of gets us all jazzed up to get our own season going.
Coach, this will be your 3rd year at Central Catholic?
Yeah, as the head coach. Yeah, 5th year overall.
All right. Tell us a little bit about your baseball background. How'd you get started in baseball?
Well, just like most people, grew up playing Little League baseball, and went through high school, ended up going to college, to a junior college down in California, and I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity to get drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays in 1993. Played a few years with them. Unfortunately, that got cut short with a couple of surgeries to my throwing shoulder because I was a left-handed pitcher. And from there, I was fortunate enough to follow some contracts through independent ball, and got a chance to travel the world a little bit, see some really fun places like Taiwan and Colombia, South America, Mexico for a little bit, and just travel across the United States and Canada, playing some professional baseball and enjoying the career.
Where'd you play in high school?
I played at San Marin High School down in the Bay Area, Marin County.
Okay, and then where'd you play in college?
I went to Diablo Valley College. I went to College of Marin first, and then I transferred over to Diablo Valley College where I got drafted.
And you were, I think you told me you were taken in the 21st round by the Blue Jays in 93. That had to be exciting. I mean, the Blue Jays were good then. They were coming off a World Series win. Yeah,
that was a little surreal, being a part of an organization that just won a World Series, and then the back-to-back World Series. We actually, some friends of mine and I were actually at a Phillies sports bar in Clearwater, Florida, when Joe Carter hit the home run off of Mitch Williams to win the 2nd World Series, and it was really interesting and surreal to know that we were a part of that. We weren't on the major league roster or anything like that, but being in the organization, showing up to the clubhouse the next day and all the World Series gear, and having a chance to take pictures with the World Series trophy, which I still have in my collection, and it was a very surreal time and very interesting time to be a part of the Blue Jays organization.
Now, I know in a couple of weeks you opened the season against West Lynn. We were talking about the Blue Jays winning the World Series that year, Carter hitting the pitch in the 9th inning off Mitch Williams. Yeah. Mitch Williams pitched at West Lynn High School.
Yeah.
And I see him every once in a while around. That had to be just really exciting.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He's a left-handed relief pitcher.
Yeah, throws a little harder than I do, but he was. He's still talked about around West Lynn. I talk with Pat Bailey every once in a while, who was coaching over around the West Lynn area, with when Mitch Williams was, in that realm, and so yeah, he's still highly regarded around the West Lynn baseball community for sure.
Left-handed pitcher, shoulder trouble, kind of words that kind of almost go together.
Yeah, it is what it is. It was one of those things where I didn't really have the best mechanics, and unfortunately something blew. It's one of the reasons I'm I'm really, trying to be a stickler on teaching good mechanics and the proper fundamentals of throwing a baseball, especially when it comes to pitching, to try to, help these young ball players, have as long of a baseball life as they can enjoy.
Good for you. Nowadays you see pitchers go to them organized baseball, and all of a sudden they're having Tommy John surgery early on in their careers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so many variables go into it. Pitching is a pretty hard, taxing event, on the arm, and arm care and the science that goes behind it, with where they've gone these days is pretty amazing. But I am happy to see that, especially at the youth levels, that they're really paying attention to pitch counts and taking care of these young arms, so they do have a chance to get somewhere down the road. But unfortunately, when you ask your arm to do something that that much and that frequently, and sometimes something goes, and it's unfortunate.
How was it pitching in other countries?
Different. It was one of those dynamics where you get used to an American style of baseball, and then especially like going over to Taiwan, they do have a little bit of a different way, at least when I was there, of looking at baseball from a more of a Japanese model, and how they play the game. Real different style of training, a little different style of how they approach, just even the simple things of base running and there's just little nuances. I mean, the game is the game, and it's pretty consistent wherever you're at. But each culture will bring in its own little nuance, which I found very fascinating, especially in places like Taiwan and going south of the border and playing with Colombian players and Latin players. It was a lot of fun.
We're talking with Coach Brian Grant of the Central Catholic Rams baseball team. And Coach, tell us a little bit about your how you got started in coaching and what you've been doing in the coaching business.
Well, I was still playing at the time when some friends of mine, started getting into coaching. They were done with college baseball and got some opportunities to coach down around California. And, I offered my assistance before I would go to spring training, and they had me on. And, from the first year, having an opportunity to, work with these young men and watch them develop and turn into varsity baseball players, and maybe even have an opportunity to, seek out the college level, it was something that I really couldn't explain. It just fed something in me that I really enjoyed, being out there with them day in and day out and working with them. Like I said, I was still playing, so I was still doing my own work, but I always knew that when I was done playing, I wanted to get into the coaching game. And towards the end of my career, I started exploring that a little bit more, and then when I finally did retire and had the opportunity to move to Oregon and be here full time, and start a family and get back to school and start coaching with some of the high schools around here like Beaverton and Lincoln, and getting opportunities to get into the baseball culture from the high school scene. It's just been a fantastic ride so far, and I got to say, I'm just truly blessed to be a part of this Central Catholic community and working with these young men and meeting everybody that I have and getting this opportunity to be here.
You had 5 years at Concordia.
Yep.
You also got a degree there at Concordia, and I think you're a teacher now, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Where do you teach at?
So I'm a PE and health teacher at the Madeline School, which is about 15 minutes away from Central Catholic's campus. And that was one of the big goals that I had for myself when I did finally retire, was that degree was still hanging out there. And when the opportunity to join Rob Vance and his staff over there and go back to school, all the while, trying to be a dad and doing all those other family responsibilities, everything really, was put in perspective for me. Getting that degree, rolling my bachelor's degree into the master's program for teaching, and teaching is another part, that really feeds something in me that, just like coaching, I really enjoyed, teaching young people and being around them and watching them grow and develop.
5 years at Concordia, then you had a year as the head coach at Lincoln, and now third year as the head coach at Central Catholic. You've made the playoffs during the time you've been there.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's been quite the fun ride since being here at Central Catholic. These these athletes that choose to play baseball at Central Catholic are really fun to work with. You know, they work hard, they put their time in on and off the field. You know, our group that we have coming in this year, you know, the time they put in, you know, to really perfect what they're trying to do and meet their own personal goals as ball players, whether it's, you know, going after a championship with the program or trying to achieve a higher level after high school, like playing in college or maybe even beyond that, has been really fun to watch, you know. But we've been very fortunate to have some depth of pitching, have some really nice offensive lineups since I've been here, and be at a competitive level that I'm happy to say can, you know, definitely compete with you know, some of the top programs in the state.
Well, I think a lot of the preseason analysts are saying that they think you can compete with just about anybody. You brought 3 of your players with you tonight. As I understand it, these are your three-year starters that have played for you. Yeah. You want to introduce the players that you brought with you tonight?
Absolutely. I brought the 3 players who have actually been with our program since their sophomore year. I've got Chris Cooney, who's going to be our starting center fielder and also a pitcher. I've got Luke Farah, who's going to be our starting catcher, and I've got Patrick Muscat, who's going to be our starting first baseman and also a pitcher as well, left-handed pitcher.
This is the boys. All right, let's talk to your players for just a bit. Let's start with Christian Cooney. And Coach introduced you. I want to say a little bit about you. You're a last year first team All-Mount Hood Conference pitcher and center fielder. Not only that, you're first team All-State player last year. You're planning on headed to the University of Portland next week. Beautiful baseball facility there. Nice. Tell me a little bit about your how you got started in playing baseball.
Well, I had started pretty young. I think I started playing t-ball when I was like 5 or 6, and it went from there to, you know, single A all the way up to Little League majors. And you know, I've played baseball ever since I can remember. It was actually not really. It was kind of like my number 2 sport for a while. I kind of like basketball more. And then I think it was like 7th, 8th grade is when I really, you know, found out, you know, I'm pretty good at this. And so, you know, I just spent a lot more time focusing on it in high school. I've had a really great experience in high school baseball. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I've come from with baseball.
You see the story recently, you know, Kyler Murray, who won the Heisman Trophy last year, drafted number 7 by the Oakland A's, and he's chosen to play football.
Right, yeah.
On the other hand, look at somebody like Tim Tebow, Heisman Trophy winner, who's now playing baseball.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So you've played primarily baseball during your 4 years at Central Catholic.
Yeah.
I did some of your games last year. I saw you pitch, and I saw you play center field. You got a preference of what you like to play?
Center is definitely my number 1 position. You know, I pitch too, and I love to hit. So, you know.
Senior coming back, first team All-State. Players are going to look to you to be a leader. What kind of things do you do for leadership skills on the field?
Yeah, you know, my freshman year coming in, I was you know, a young freshman, pretty nervous. First time playing high school baseball, and you know, the seniors and juniors on that squad really did a good job of, like, you know, getting, like, you know, fitting me into the family really, and they kind of took me under their wing, and so I kind of want to be that guy for the younger dudes in our organization, because what those older dudes did for me when I was younger, you know, made me really feel like a part of something bigger than just a baseball team. You know, it was a family, and so I want to do that same thing.
All right, I'm going to ask you about maybe your fondest memory during the time that you played at baseball at Central Catholic up till now. Before you give me an answer, I'm going to tell you 2 that I know of.
Okay.
One of them was last year I saw you hit the opening. you were the opening batter in a game against Gresham at Walker Stadium, and I saw you hit the ball out of the park. That had to be pretty exciting.
Of course.
And then my favorite game we talked about a little bit ago was that playoff win over Wilson at Scavone Field.
Yeah.
And you drove in the winning run in, like, I think it was the bottom of the 13th.
Yeah, that was quite a game.
Those had to be pretty exciting. You got any more exciting than
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I've had a bunch of really memorable experiences for playing baseball. I think what I really cherish the most is just the long, the grind of the season, and going through the ups and downs. I've had some really good moments from freshman year to now, but I think just the biggest part is finishing the season with the guys I call my brothers, and that kind of connection is something that you're not really going to find anywhere else. And so just the season itself is just, one of the most fun time of the year for me.
At University of Portland, what are you going to major in? What would you like to do?
I haven't chosen a major yet, but I really like criminology and psychology, and so maybe something around those areas. But it's still something I'm thinking about. So.
All right. Yeah. Let's talk to Patrick Muscat for a second. Patrick, glad you could join us tonight.
Me too.
I said some things about Christian. You're last year first team All-League Mount Hood Conference first baseman. You were also honorable mention All-State first baseman. You pitched a lot last year too, and you're headed next year to Western Oregon. Mm-hmm. And you're going to play baseball, right?
Yes.
What are you going to major in at Western Oregon?
I'm thinking about exercise science, maybe going to the physical therapy realm or training somewhere and maybe working with a sports team. That's just one plan that I have. Yeah.
I mentioned to you earlier, I was telling you about Mike Marshall, who pitched in the major leagues for the Dodgers, and he majored in those same kind of things at college, and he still holds the record to this day of most games pitched in at 106, so maybe you can be your own doctor.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, what's your fondest memory of your career at Central Catholic?
I think my fondest memory probably was my sophomore year, and we had just gotten the news that our assistant athletic director, Sister Jerome, had just passed away, and we were going up to play a game at Gresham. And I remember the game before that, I think either we lost a close one or they killed us. But we weren't feeling good for the rest of the series, and then we went out there and we blanked them 7-0, and we were just feeling great, and we felt like she was really with us, and that was just a really nice team moment, I think.
When we all got together tonight, I had mentioned to you that I've been broadcasting a long time, and that I had a list of my top 5 games that I've ever broadcast, and your game against Wilson last year in the playoff was in that. Coach, I remember you were tied at the end of regulation. You put Patrick into pitch, moved you from first base, and I think you pitched 6 innings there without giving up a run. I know you had some base runners without giving up a run. It was just an outstanding performance. You remember that game, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And how'd you feel while that game was going on?
I felt good pitching-wise. That's not a game offensively that I like to remember.
I think you struck out a couple of times.
Yeah, more than a couple. But that was probably my worst offensive performance of my high school career. But just roll with the punches, and then I just kept pitching and just got the win.
What do you want to play at Western Oregon? You got a preference?
Yeah, definitely first base because I love to hit. Yeah.
How'd you get involved in playing first base? Somebody steer you that way?
It was kind of watching my brother growing up. I remember I'd always go to the ballpark and watch my brother, and he was a first baseman, so I kind of wanted to be just like him, and I took that path as well.
All right. Let's talk to Luke Farah for a minute. Luke, you're a third-year player here at Central Catholic. You're a catcher, and I think you're going to probably open the season starting at catcher. You've played in the infield at third base, and you've DH'd for a while. Have you made up your mind yet about where you're going to go to school next year?
No, I have not. Still trying to figure that out, what's going to be the best fit for me academically and baseball-wise. So hopefully I'll have that decision here as we get going in the early part of the season. But, the timeline really just kind of depends on what all lines up good for me and my family.
Got some places that you like, you've seen so far?
Mm-hmm.
Where have you seen?
Been down to Cal State San Bernardino with my family.
Oh, okay.
And then San Jose State, Coach Latore over there has definitely been very kind to me and my family. So just all about what lines up the best for me academically and athletically.
You're going to play ball down there?
I hope so, yes.
And what career interests do you have?
Well, academically, I'd like to go into either kinesiology, like Patrick over here, or possibly a dentistry route. So still trying to make up my mind there, but those are kind of the two areas I'm focusing on right now.
How'd you get involved in catching? You know, you got to be a special person to want to be a catcher.
Yeah. Well, I'd always been like a second string catcher. I was always like predominantly a shortstop and pitcher growing up. But then as I got going into 8th grade and then my freshman year, started to hear and figure out from everyone that that's the easiest way of playing time, and that's every college needs a catcher, and it's definitely, I've noticed in my college process, it's definitely opened a lot more windows than I think I would have had possibly from being a pitcher or a shortstop. So yeah, definitely the opportunity that comes with catching was very eye-opening for me.
You know, probably the person on the field most involved in the game all the time is the catcher. So you'll never get bored there.
No, not at all.
What's your fondest memory of playing baseball at Central Catholic?
That's a tough one. The two I can think of is definitely the one Patrick was talking about, the first game after Sister Jerome passed away, going and playing out at Gresham. And we had a good team that year, but we had kind of struggled a little bit to put all the pieces together in one game. And that game, we definitely all just came together. And I think we hit our first 2 home runs of the season with me and Patrick, and it was just a very exciting game for us. And then last year's playoff run for me, probably. For me, that was like my first playoff win at Central Catholic I've been a part of, and it was just very exciting to make it to the 3rd round like that and play a good team in Clackamas that hopefully will come out on top of this year.
Was that game 2-1? I know it was a very close game.
4-2.
4-2.
Yeah.
Coach, tell us a little bit about these 3 players you brought.
Well, you know, I mean, like I said before, you know, these are the 3 seniors that have been with us the longest. You know, they came up as sophomores. Actually, Christian had a little late call up as a freshman, so he's got a little bit more of the tenure. But as far as full-time, you know, starters and started the season off as varsity impact players, they've been with us, you know, as that role since their sophomore year. You know, all 3 of them have shown, you know, the physical attributes that you're always looking for. You know, they can definitely handle themselves from that perspective on the baseball field at any level, in my opinion. The one thing that I've always enjoyed about these 3 guys, as well as others, but these 3 in particular, is, you know, the way they go about their business. You know, the season and the grind of the season that they spoke to before, you know, really tests you. And here in the Northwest, it tests you even further. You know, I mean, you're sifting through a lot of weather. You know, our situation sometimes, you know, with our fields and trying to find the right fit for a field each week, not having our own home field can definitely make a little bit more of a mental task, especially for young ball players. But these 3 have always shown that, you know, we come to work, we don't make excuses. Good day, bad day, that just happened. We just keep pressing forward. We keep our eye on the prize, you know, which is to go out and put our best foot forward to try to win championships and be a program that's very visible in the state of Oregon. And all 3 of these guys have shown, you know, through various examples, you know, that they're always up to the task, you know. Yeah, and the fun part for me is watching the maturity that comes along with each season. You know, whether, you know, you come off a bad game and then you turn around and you're able to, you know, to produce something positive, you know, and they've all, you know, been able to do that. You know, Luke, you know, Luke's the kind of catcher that could probably start in most programs around the state of Oregon. You know, he was saddled with the task of following a guy right now who's playing Division I baseball, and Dylan McNeil. Never complained, kept going forward, kept working, earned his time on the field. You know, through game planning and everything, not being able to be in positions to be in the lineup consistently through our playoff run last year. But when he came off the bench, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to go up there and hit a ball hard for us, and give us an opportunity. And that's the kind of player that he is, And Patty over here, that Wilson game's a perfect example of what I've always liked about Patrick is he's always had a very professional approach to the game of baseball and the understanding of how to work through the tough moments. I mean, to be able to go out there and not have your best offensive game, and by his standards, by a lot of people's standards, it wasn't a great offensive game. And, then to turn around against a tough team like Roseburg and act like it wasn't even a blip on the radar. Just, toe the rubber and keep us in a game, again, not letting things affect us, And Christian's had a lot of, really good positive moments, offensively, defensively, but, when you look through the entire season and really put everything together, you definitely have your moments where, little slumps, here and there for whatever reason. He was asked to take on a different role last year as a leadoff hitter, and asked to do a couple of different things, which took a little bit of time for him to adjust to before he really hit his stride and got going. But he kept going and kept pushing, and even just getting on the mound, which is not something that we asked him to do, primarily in his first couple years. But the kind of team player that he is, he takes the ball, he goes out there, he gives it everything he got, that he has that day, and he's going to try to, put his team in the best position to win. So, those kind of leadership skills and those kind of qualities that these three players bring to the table and have brought to the table ever since they've stepped on a varsity field are why they're really, the leaders of our program right now. And it's not one of those things that you have to say, that they don't have to say much, while they're in the dugout. They do, but they don't have to, It's all you got to do is watch, and if you're paying attention, you see the kind of ball players that they are, and it's been an absolute pleasure and a joy for me to be around them.
Coach, you opened the season March 11th against Westland. Is that right?
That's true. That's correct.
All right, guys. Who's going to win the Mount Hood Conference baseball title?
Rams.
Who are you looking for to be a tough competition?
Always Clackamas.
All of
Clackamas. Barlow too. Barlow looks
Barlow's
Barlow.
really good this year as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to seeing your games. We'll be out and doing some of the games, and looking forward to seeing you guys out on the field. Good luck, and good luck in your baseball careers. Coach, thanks for joining us tonight and give us information. I can't wait for baseball to start, and
oh my gosh,
look forward to seeing you down there. And with these kind of players that you got here, I'm certainly predicting that you're going to have a great season. Thanks for joining us tonight and having the Central Catholic boys baseball team here, Coach Grant, our players, Christian Cooney, Patrick Muscat, and Luke Farah. We are at Old Town Brewery. We want to thank them for their hospitality tonight. This has been a production of Oregon SportsBeat. This is SportsBeat TV. Go to OregonSportsBeat.com and you can find our listings for when our programming happens and when our live broadcasts occur, and we look forward to having you with us during the upcoming season. Our producer, Ryan Johnson, Jim Thompson, our director, Alva Myers on the audio, Steve Roberts, our production assistant. I'm Dave Hall. Thanks for being with us. Good night, everybody.